If you have any diehard Trump supporting MAGA people in your life, I want you to show them this video because it completely destroys Donald Trump's narrative that the Republicans care about political violence and the Democrats don't. For days, the Republicans have been saying, oh, the Democrats responded poorly to the shooting of Charlie Kirk, when in reality, every major Democratic leader from Obama, Biden, Harris have condemned it. But now Trump himself, from his own mouth, exposed that he doesn't actually care about political violence. In the Oval Office today, he was taking questions mainly on the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and a reporter asked him if he should have lowered the flags to half-staff for Melissa Hortman, the Democratic lawmaker in Minnesota who was killed over the summer. And he responded to that question by saying, "Who? I'm sorry, I don't know who you're referring to." He doesn't know her name. He has no idea that this story took place, that she was murdered in her home, and now Donald Trump wants to play the moral high ground and attack Democrats. It's absurd. I was disgusted when I saw the clip. I knew I immediately had to bring it to you. So we're going to dive into this and a bunch of other parts of this press conference. But before I do so, please make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of the relevant news. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about the story. And enough chit chat. Let's watch this clip. Take a look.
Mr. President, I want Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right,
do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. Oh,
the Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
He didn't know. He had no idea. I'm not familiar. Who? This is a guy who has been, for days, demonizing the Democratic Party, saying the Democrats are violent, the radical left, they cause all of this violence, when someone on his side of the aisle, an evangelical Trump supporter, which Vance Bolter, the murderer in the situation, was, he has no idea. He doesn't care about the situation. He doesn't talk about it. It shows you the double standard of someone like Trump. If something happens to his side, he's all over it. He'll use it as an excuse to target the Democratic Party. But if something happens to the Democratic side, who he disagrees with, the Democratic Party, then it's, oh, I'm actually not familiar with what you're talking about. I'm not familiar with the story. It is disgusting. And look, I'd have to fact check him because he said, you know, if the governor would have asked, I would have done it. Number one, the governor shouldn't have to ask. You should just do it. You're the president, right? That's just common courtesy. But also, number two, Donald Trump said he refused to call Tim Walz. It's not Tim Walz didn't refuse to call him. Tim Walz would have done it. Trump refused to call Tim Walz. This is from Caitlin Collins saying Trump just said right now that if Tim Walz had asked him to lower the flags after the murder of Melissa and Mark Hortman, he would have. But when I asked him on Air Force One if they had spoken at the time, he said calling Walz would be a waste of time, aka no. And here's an actual clip of that interaction. Take a look.
Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't really call him. Look, he appointed this guy to the position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?
I feel like I'm going crazy when I watch clips of Donald Trump being so cruel and so disgusting and Republicans try to issue a defense of it. I mean, this is the guy right here who said, he didn't call me. Does he not remember? Maybe this is another example of cognitive decline. Maybe he just doesn't remember that he said, why would I waste time? He's a mess. Why I could be nice, but why would I? He said, the governor's whacked out. I'm not calling him. That's Trump. Ugh, the double standard when it comes to political violence is gross. And of course, we have to point out, people like Paul Pelosi, who he made fun of January 6th, who he pardoned all those people. I mean, It's so crazy. I want to show you another clip from this press conference where, kind of separate from Charlie Kirk, where he was talking about sending the National Guard into Chicago, even if the governor objects, even if the governor or the mayor of Chicago says, yeah, we actually don't need this because crime in Chicago is at a record low. He says he's just going to force it. Take a look.
Mr. President, how will you send the National Guard into Chicago without the cooperation of the governor and the mayor?
Well, if they do cooperate, that's good. If they don't, it's not going to matter to us at all. You know who wants to help us? Police department. They have no respect for the governor. They have no respect for the mayor. They respect us. And we found that in Washington. You know, we haven't had total support in Washington from government, as you know, from everybody. I don't want to say the mayor because she was better than most, but we haven't had great, but we have had great support from the Metropolitan Police. They're like brothers of these people. They're really like brothers. You see that. They work together. And so.
Yeah, the Metropolitan Police in D.C., the same people he allowed to get beat on January 6th and then pardon the people who beat them. The same people, right? Those same people respect Donald Trump. You know, it's so frustrating when he claims to be an ally of law enforcement. He couldn't be farther from an ally of law enforcement. Not only do we have January 6th, but he's proposing all of these cuts to the FBI, these cuts to the Department of Justice, the firing of civil servants who have worked in these agencies, dedicated their lives to protecting the United States, making it safer, prosecuting bad people. And Donald Trump wants to sit here while covering the bruise on his hand, as you'll notice, which we'll talk about in just a second. He wants to sit here and, destroy and attack the Democrats for not being friends of law enforcement, but he apparently, the guy who watched them get beat on television and thought it was great, he's the guy that's friendly with them. I mean, it's just so insane. Here's another one regarding Charlie Kirk, where he, again, doubles down on saying that it's the Democrats and the liberals who like political violence when he doesn't even know who Melissa Hortman is. It's so infuriating. Take a look.
The killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be taking place.
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country. Okay, yeah, please.
What is there to say when this guy says some dumb crap like this, that the radical left hates our country? You know, the Democrats in question, the Democratic Party is not radical left, right? I mean, he's taking this label of people. There are extreme people on the left. Don't get me wrong. People who are very far left. He takes those people and applies it to the entire Democratic Party to demonize people like me, you, people who just want people to have the resources necessary to be able to send their kid to school, go to the hospital if they need to. Just very sensible policy. It's evil how Donald Trump uses this rhetoric to demonize an entire group of people, which he has done his entire political career in different facets of politics. But, the idea that the radical left are the one behind most violence in this country is just factually incorrect. It is the far right, and study after study proves this, that engage in political violence significantly more than anybody on the left. And as I mentioned, kind of separate from that topic, you see in all these clips that Donald Trump is covering that bruised hand, which we've talked about extensively on the channel. I mean, you go all the way back to these. I mean, the entire press conference, he was covering his hand. But thankfully, the photographers at Getty and people in the room were able to capture an image. And that's why he was covering his hand, because the bruising is still there. And so now the tactic is, if they can't see it, they won't ask me about it. So he's sitting like this the entire time. But thankfully, we managed to capture an image, and there's still makeup caked on top. There's still bruising. This is not normal. This is not normal. And the White House has not given us an answer for why there is consistent bruising on Donald Trump's hand. So look, I just had to show you this clip, especially the one regarding him not knowing who Melissa Hortman is. It made me sick in my stomach. Truly. But I'll leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. It really means the world. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It goes an incredibly long way. Drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about this story. And as I always say, I greatly appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.